Welcome to the Nursing 115 online tutorial for plagiarism. In this tutorial, we'll talk about the definition of plagiarism, give you some examples of plagiarism, and show you how to avoid plagiarism. Put simply, plagiarism is the act of presenting another person's work or ideas as your own. Plagiarism often occurs when you leave out quotation marks, or you forget to put in the author's name, date, or page number of the quotation, and when you rewrite or paraphrase too closely to the original. Penn State University's Teaching and Learning with Technology Center indicates that when you commit plagiarism, you hurt both yourself and the community. You deny yourself the opportunity to learn and practice skills that may be needed in future careers. You also deny yourself the opportunity to receive honest feedback on how to improve your skills and performance. You invite future employers and faculty to question your integrity and performance in general. You commit fraud on faculty who are evaluating your work. You deprive another author due credit for his or her work. You show disrespect for your peers who have done their own work. Plagiarism is not something that only students do. During the 1988 presidential race, Vice President Joe Biden admitted that while in law school, he had received an F for a course because he plagiarized 5 pages from a published article in a term paper. Writer Alex Haley was sued by author Harold Kuhlander, who said that portions of Roots were taken from his book, The African. Most recently, author Jane Goodall has been under fire with allegations of plagiarism in her new book, Seeds of Hope. She has been accused of plagiarizing passages as well as self-plagiarizing her own interviews from decades ago. Now let's take a look at some student examples of plagiarism and the consequences. An Ohio University student was charged with plagiarism because she didn't cite or paraphrase correctly. She was expelled from the University of Virginia's Semester at Sea program, and she was forced to disembark early and go home. A UC San Diego student cut and pasted phrases from internet websites into his paper. He received a 0 on the assignment and failed the class, and then he had to attend a special workshop. Finally, 3 engineering students who had already graduated were accused of plagiarizing large parts of their theses. The university notified the graduates that they either had to forfeit their degrees, contest the charges, or rewrite their theses. A former assistant professor at the University of Pittsburgh School of Nursing, Scott J. M. Weber, was accused of plagiarism. The publisher of 3 nursing journals, the Journal of Child and Adolescent Psychiatric Nursing, the Journal of the American Academy of Nurse Practitioners, and Perspectives in Psychiatric Care, issued a retraction of 7 articles after concluding that Weber had liberally borrowed previously published research without attribution. Weber admitted to lifting the work of others and falsifying and fabricating data in the journal articles. He agreed to exclude himself from work with federal agencies for 3 years and is no longer with the university. At the time of the story, it was unclear if Weber continued to work as a nurse or educator. As you see from the previous slides, plagiarism can range from submitting a paper that you didn't write to omitting key citations. In this next section, we're going to take a look at paraphrasing when we cut and paste text. Cutting and pasting large chunks of text into an assignment can be dangerous. We'll look at examples of this tactic in the next 2 slides. The example comes from a paragraph from the Bad Linguistics page about an assignment on how bilingual children learn language. Before we look at the examples, remember that unless you present the paragraph as a quote, giving a full citation, you're committing plagiarism when you cut and paste. Here's an example of a bad cut and paste. Don't worry about reading the content. Focus on the difference between the black and the red text. The red text is the inserted text. This is the same paragraph as before, this time using good cut and paste practices. Here the individual offset in block format, the entire paragraph that was cut and pasted. Notice at the end of the paragraph a full citation, including the author's name, date of publication, and paragraph number are provided. This example is the way you want to utilize cut and paste. In this section, we'll look at some inappropriate paraphrasing practices and discuss ways to avoid plagiarism through paraphrasing. Here is our original text. This is the same paragraph as was shown in the previous slides. We'll continue to use this for consistency. On this slide, we see the attempt at paraphrasing. This example shows that the writer replaced the original text with synonyms. The items in red are the synonyms. Replacing words is still plagiarism because you have not used your own words to discuss the topic. The original passage is still apparent. Keep in mind that it is exceptionally easy for your professors to check for plagiarism today. All that has to be done is a simple Google search for a passage. When you closely paraphrase, it will show up like this example. This slide shows the list of words that replaced the original text. Notice which words were utilized and how parallel they are. It's not difficult to determine that the piece was poorly rephrased and that this is an example of plagiarism. This slide shows an example of a well-paraphrased section. Notice that the writer has given credit to Piatt's article in several places. The writer mentioned another author, Ruskanen, to support both the writer and Piatt's arguments. Also take note that the Ruskanen article was quoted in part. Some suggestions for paraphrasing include using your own analysis of the topic. If the idea is not yours, include a citation. Take a look at other articles for examples of how authors handle paraphrasing and quoting in a published article. A good way to practice paraphrasing is to write the material in your own words first. Then you can review the original item to locate key quotations. This practice is difficult when material is unfamiliar. In fact, we are more likely to plagiarize when we are unsure about a topic. In this case, a good practice is to write out the material using quotations, sleep on it, and then reread it. Often, sleeping on it allows you to come back and rewrite a lot of material in your own words. Finally, if you're unsure, ask your instructor for guidance on plagiarism and ways to avoid it. Keep in mind, you want to avoid getting into plagiarism trouble. The best practice any author can do is to copy the citation information from any source that's used. When you quote something, be sure to write down the author, date, and page number. If you copy something from the web, copy and paste the web address. Get all of the information, such as the author, title, journal name, and date, and put it in a draft reference list. It is painful to try to find material you used later, especially if you've paraphrased it. It's best to keep a list from the beginning. You can always delete items you did not use. A key to successful writing is to focus on formatting the paper after you have written it. Avoid stressing over formatting, and remember, the librarians and your instructors can help you format your paper. A basic guideline for college papers is to limit your direct quotes to 10 to 15% of your entire paper. In other words, if you're writing a 5-page paper, you should only have 1/2 or 3/4 of a page of direct quotes. The rest of your paper should be paraphrased or in your own words. Finally, if you want to check your work before submitting it to your instructor, check out online plagiarism checkers. Here are 3 free sites, but there are many, many more out there. These tools allow you to insert all of your paper or just sections. It will look for instances of what it thinks are direct quotes or close paraphrases. These tools give you feedback to see where similar text is found. At this point, you decide whether to rewrite that section of your paper or quote that section. Thank you for taking the time to watch this tutorial. I am your library liaison for nursing. If you need assistance or help with paraphrasing and avoiding plagiarism, feel free to email me.